Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's July 12th of 2022. It's almost midnight. Amazon's having their Amazon Prime sale. It lasts for 2 days, so today was the first day. And so tomorrow will be the last day of their sale. And all the years of Black Friday and online sales, I have never purchased anything, that way, even online. Usually I'm broke when they have those things. Well, I'm broke now, but I did today. I purchased a $15 speaker system, and it looks pretty neat. I think it'll work out well for me over here. I have a computer, I have speakers set up for these two monitors and everything here running Windows 11. And I have an inexpensive, I paid about $15 for, I think, or a little bit more for these other, and I don't care for them. I don't care for it that much. So anyway, this other one, and I think the normal price for it was $18, and I'll be getting it tomorrow. And I ordered, something else. In order to get the next day service or whatever it was, the order had to be for $25 or more. So I purchased a Smith & Wesson knife, and I thought I'd have that available here so I could open up boxes easier or something. I heard about this before. And it's the Affordable Connectivity Program. And I'd heard about it, and they finally sent me, maybe before they also sent it's a federal government program. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, the ACP. It says here that this program was created in response to the pandemic to ensure that eligible households like yours, will have what you need in order to connect to jobs, critical health care services, vital classrooms, and more. Once we verify that your application meets the federal requirement, we will confirm your entry into this program. The Affordable Connectivity Program will provide a credit for up to $30 each month on your internet service on a temporary basis. And I think I pay $108 a month for internet service, and that includes a landline phone line. And so anyway, I filled out the application, and it said they'd get back to me. Let me drag something else over here for a second. Let's see. Yeah, this is it. Now this reminds me of something back quite a few years ago, and Obama was president, and there was talk back then that there were a lot of poor people who could not afford a cell phone. Maybe couldn't afford phone service, but they definitely couldn't afford a cell phone. So Obama got passed a thing to give poor people a cell phone. And it was I forget what the deal was on it. It was, oh God, Now if I had a lot of money, if I was rich, I'd probably have a $1,000 cell phone or something. But I don't need I don't need and I would never pay that kind of money unless I just had too much money, like McDonald, I used to read those comic books where McDonald Duck or whatever was rich, and he had a swimming pool. He was filled with money, coins, and he would dive in there and that kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of neat. But anyway, so the program passed. I'm surprised it passed because for the 8 years that Obama was president of the United States, the Republicans vowed from day one that they would never allow anything to pass, that they were going to make him a failed president. And they did that. I can't believe that they actually, they should have been voted out of office immediately just for, they met on the first, when he was elected. And, Republicans stood on the steps of the Capitol building together, senators and Republican Congress people, and said, we're going to make him a failed president. We're going to make sure nothing in the next 4 years passes, nothing. And they did that. And then they wanted to make sure he was not reelected. And of course he was reelected. This time they didn't meet on the steps, I don't think. But they let it be known, yeah, we're going to make sure that these 4 years are a disaster for him. But anyway, he passed something they gave, and it was picture the worst cell phone. I mean, we're not talking nice. I mean, here if you look at cell phones, okay, you can spend X amount of money nowadays and you can get, even a cheap one that looks nice, has some features you can use. These were, I wouldn't have one. I'd be embarrassed to have one, And that's what people got. And the rule was, there were some rules. You had to use it at least once a month to make a call. And I think there were rules on how much you could use it. And, stuff like that. I mean, it was, and I don't think the Republicans faked this. I think they actually, maybe they did. Maybe they went to some inner city, someplace where there's black people or something. And maybe they said, we want you to jump up and down and do, say the following or something. Anyway, there was video made of a bunch of black people, young people, I think males mostly, to terrify the Republicans, supporters of black young men, I think mainly. I kind of remember the thing. Jumping up, and saying, Obama phone, an Obama phone, we got an Obama phone, we got an Obama phone. And it worked. I mean, except I don't think it worked very well for the people that got it. One, you had to keep, the phone charged up. I mean, if you wanted to make one phone call a month. And, I mean, I don't think it, of course, I'm sure you could go through and find somebody who needed 911 or something. Of course, you can use cell phones, even if you don't have an account, the cell phones, you can dial 911 and it does work, thank God. That's a smart idea. But, so now they have this program, and it's for a limited time only, and they actually sent me an email. I think did I show the email? I think I did. Anyway, and I had almost fell out nothing. Because they already knew, because of the internet service provider, and the internet service provider knows what kind of service I have. They have information on me. So I got a thing saying, it looks like you qualify for, and just fill this out if you want it, and you'll get $30 off of your, cell phone bill. And I pay $108 a month, like I said, for internet service, not cell phone service. For internet service, I pay $108 a month. That includes $9 or $10 for a landline for my ex-wife, so she has a landline phone because she has no idea how to, do anything on a, cell phone. So anyway, it's going to last for a limited amount of time. And apparently they automatically, instead of me paying $108 a month, they will automatically take that $30, out. The government will pay it, and that will come out, so I'll pay $30 less. So, and the other thing is, if you're on, they don't call it food stamps anymore, what do they call it? SNAP. If you're on SNAP, if you get food stamps, they'll take some extra money out because they know you're on your limited income, and so they'll take that out. But I'm just getting the $30, a month, and now on. Here it is, yeah. This is the food stamp program. You're not supposed to call it that anymore. It's a supplemental nutrition assistance program, federal government program to help people who are really poor and need, actually could use money to, and of course you're limited. I mean, you can't buy alcohol, you can't buy, they're limited. I don't think you can buy toilet paper. You have to buy food, and you're limited on what you can buy. And I'm not sure why it was called the food stamp program, whether you had to in the beginning, but now it's become the SNAP program. And they get a card. And it looks like a regular, debit card or a credit card or something like that. It looks exactly, like that. And because I've been behind people before in a grocery store, and see them, using the card. And that's a federal government program, and apparently it works pretty well. Because the way it works is, the federal government has allocated X amount of money, it comes out X amount of money, and then it is sent to all the states. I'm not sure if a state could opt out of it. I don't think any state surely would. That'd be stupid. But the federal government then sends that money to the states, divided up somehow by population. I don't know. Wait a minute, let's see. Employment training, SNAP purchases, what can SNAP buy? Am I eligible for SNAP? There, at some point I think, when I first started getting Social Security, I got called a few times by, I think, Social Security. No, I think it was some other, but they said, let's see what other benefits you're entitled to. And this is not you have to be careful. This was not a scam or anything like that. And so they went through asking me how much, income I had and that type of stuff. And then they did the math, and then they said, case. But then I think they sent me actually a form. And with my Social Security and my small retirement from a hospital for 18 years, with those things added together, I was just barely, like a 1% or 2% over, and so I couldn't, couldn't get any benefits. I wouldn't have wanted them, I think, anyway. Well, I guess I would have if it had been but Republicans especially, I think entirely, they object to the food stamp program. And Republicans back quite a few years ago, they made big things of welfare mothers. What do they call them? Welfare queens, or something like that. And they said that black women were what was it? Driving Cadillacs and going up and picking up free food. So I guess it wasn't the SNAP program. Going and picking up, in their Cadillac, free food because they qualified, and other things like that. I mean, the Republicans have just hounded this type of a thing. And it turned out, I'm sure that would happen if you have a nation of 300 million people. There's going to be somebody who's going to be taking advantage of the situation. That's the reason you want to have government employees in various agencies who check on things like that. And there again, the Republicans, they don't like that because that means it's a federal government employee, and they don't want, where, the Internal Revenue Service doesn't have enough agents in order to check on everything and everybody. And it's totally stupid because I saw something was done where I think it was an IRS, and like they make, I'm wrong now on this, and times have changed. Let's say that they made $140,000 a year working for the IRS, but those people who were doing that job would, in the course of it, they're making it $140,000. They would be finding people who were not paying the proper amount of tax and all that kind of stuff, and they would bring in tons more than $140,000 a year. I mean, massive amounts of money. And now I'm sure at some point, if you hired a whole bunch of people, at some point, then you'd have to say, well, wait a minute, it's not effective now. But we never get to that point. But it wasn't just the Internal Revenue Service. Oh, like the SNAP program, the food stamp program, people said, oh, that's, of course it's been checked, and no, it's not. There are some people, always again, there's always some people who are, taking advantage of the thing. But if you pay some people, they're going to catch these other people, and you're actually going to come out ahead. But the Republicans, they don't want more federal employees. They probably don't want more employees, period, at least government employees. And we had the same kind of a problem with the air traffic controllers. I think we all agree we need enough air traffic controllers. We need enough. We don't need control towers being understaffed. It's the last thing that we want. And the Republicans did everything to keep the government from, President Reagan fired almost all of the air traffic controllers because they formed a union. And, of course, they could have a union. And, of course, I remember back then when it came out that and they were paid air traffic controllers because of their training that they have to go through, which is very intensive, and everything else. But the air traffic controllers, also there's limits on them. They have to take retirement at an early age because of the stress. They are not allowed, by federal regulation to work to age 65 or something like that. You can't have some old guy, sitting there at the, in a control tower or whatever. But and I knew, I think I was a union member then. In my life, I've been a member of the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, Blacksmiths, blah, 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 blah. And also a member of the Automobile Workers Union, Teamsters, not the Teamsters now. Anyway, and then I saw in the news that the Air Traffic Controller Union was going on strike for higher wages, and then they listed in the paper, of course, this is what an air traffic controller makes, and it was a good salary, and I thought this is a bad idea, and I'm a union person. I'm not a union person now. I was just a union person during my lifetime at 2 unions and not the entire time, because I worked other jobs. But I thought this is not good, and of course President Reagan said he would fire them, that they were not allowed to strike, and that he would fire them. And I'm not sure I thought that he really would fire them, but they went on strike because I saw that what their salary was, and I thought the American people are going to the people are going to be, I forget what they were making an hour, because they gave the year, or whatever. And I thought, but the American people that are making $6 an hour or $7 an hour or a whopping $10 an hour or something, I thought they're not going to, and that's sure enough what happened. And he fired them, and for years the air traffic controller because they had to hire back, they had to hire new ones. And we're just lucky we didn't have some major crashes or major, luckily air traffic controllers, they worked overtime, which is probably not a good idea. I actually, after the 9/11 attack, I came to Texas. I'm not sure if it was right after or if I was here. Anyway, after the 9/11 attack, the FAA demanded increased security for air traffic control places, and for their towers and that type of stuff. And immediately they hired, off-duty police officers, and that didn't work very good. I've talked about that in the past. That didn't work very good. And then also, of course, they were getting paid really good money. And so pretty quick they replaced them with contract security. And I applied it here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and got hired in at a contract security company, and so we went, and worked at the tower. 2 people for each, Love Field, and then later I worked at Addison Field, and at Love Field, they didn't have a lot of traffic at night, but there would be one air traffic controller in the tower, and there was supposed to be another in the tower, and the other one in the tower would be taking breaks, which they're entitled to, and then there could be other things that the other one did. Then they would like switch. I'm sure they could be doing some other stuff, paperwork that they needed to do, or some training that they need to read up on, or maybe nodding off with a little nap or something or other. But anyway, and the Republicans insisted after, Ronald Reagan gutted the air traffic controllers and destroyed their union. Of course, the air traffic controllers formed a new union, and it was more powerful than the one that Reagan destroyed, that the Republicans were, wow, they created another union which was more powerful, because they told me that, and the rest of us, when we were working after the 9/11 attack, they bragged about it, the people there. But now this union is more powerful, and it has in Washington D.C. our headquarters is a massive, I forget how many floor building in Washington D.C. and they had all kinds of benefits. But the damage that Reagan did when he did that, now he got, the Republicans loved it. He destroyed that. But they don't know. I don't think they ever knew or figured it out. Well, I guess probably the representatives and whatever, they knew it, but the rank and file people, if their memory is good enough to remember, they'd go back. Reagan, he destroyed a union, and he put everybody at great risk, because for years and years after that, there was difficulty, because it takes quite a while to train. You don't just, even though they go through school, through college and get a degree, and I don't know what it is, and there's all kinds of testing and that type of stuff, and that it takes a long time to become you just don't go and, okay, well, you're out of school, just sit down here and land these aircraft every 5 minutes. So hopefully I'm going to be hearing from Spectrum, my internet service provider, and I'm going to get $30 off of my internet bill, which is $108. I think I mentioned, if you're on SNAP, food stamps, there is an additional amount that you could have taken out automatically. They would pay, because you're on food stamps, they would pay some extra money into your, so maybe instead of me getting 30 if I was on SNAP, maybe I'd get $50 off the internet bill or something. But I'll be glad to get 30 off. That will actually help. Everything helps. I think, let's see, what else? I already mentioned that. Tomorrow I'm getting some new speakers. Oh, and I mentioned that this is the first time in my life. I'd never gone to any shopping mall at midnight where they were having a Black Friday sale or something. I wouldn't, and stand outside or something, I never stood outside of a Apple store, for 2 days to wait till you could, that kind of, I wouldn't, no way. And I'm not wealthy, never have been wealthy. I think I mentioned the other day, maybe not, that here in Texas, you can go online and you can buy lottery tickets and things. And There are a few times in the past, well, when lottery first started in Missouri, that was pretty exciting to everybody. And I worked at a hospital, small town, and the staff would, all of them, nurses, well-paid nurses, stuff like that, they'd have a ticket. And Jim, go watch the TV and see they're going to announce the winning number, and I'd go find out what the winning number was and go write it on the back, the whiteboard in the break room or whatever. And then I started buying a ticket for a while, and then I just stopped. And then later on, for a little bit, I occasionally would buy a ticket, and what I actually enjoyed doing was, this is going to sound mental, because I mentioned it like to my ex-wife or something like that, and she looks at me like, I guess she's always looked at me. And what I would do is I'd buy like one ticket, and I wanted to get it as soon as, when the lottery got big, I mean really big, where they were talking about on television and things like that, massive things, I would buy one ticket. I wanted to buy it right away. I didn't want to go buy it at the last minute, because I wanted to have it. And then what I would do is, if I was walking from here, probably didn't live here then, but if I was walking down the street to get some hamburgers or something like that, that's kind of dull, But so I would be thinking, okay, the lottery is $400 million. Okay. What I would do is I'd give, $50 million to my oldest daughter. I'd give $50 million to my son. And then I would, then I have the next two kids. It'd be okay. No way, in my mind, no way could I give them 50 million. So I'd have to set it up some way, and especially one of my younger kids, it would have to be somebody has to approve, And in my mind, too, I was thinking about, okay, that kid is going to hate me. But I just couldn't, and I would think about all that. I'd think about, like, my ex-wife. She didn't treat me all that great when we were married. And, man, she screwed me over repeatedly after the marriage, repeatedly. But still, she, mother of my 4 kids, So, but I thought, okay, she's handicapped, Okay, and then I'd think about, okay, well, I could set her up a place here where the kids could get to her, but, she'd have it, all that kind of, think about how I'd spend all that kind of money. And time would pass really quick. If I was at a doctor's office, and I'd be sitting, instead of sitting out waiting to go in the doctor's, into the doctor's room, be sitting out there, and then I would pull up if it was a lottery and I had one ticket for it. Then I'd have to, and the amount would be different, so then I'd have to go through, and of course I never bought a ticket for a small amount. I wanted it to be a big amount. So then I have to go through the calculations again. Oh, okay, well, do this and do that, and time passed quickly. It used to be all my life, I could lay down and I could immediately go to sleep. I mean, as soon as my head touched the pillow, I was asleep. At some point in the last few years, I'm 81 now. By the way, I have to, it's written on my board here, 81, because I forget. That's not good. Because if you watch some of my older videos, I'll be saying, well, I'm 90 years old now, and that went on for a couple of years or whatever, So, got it written down. But, so for the last few years I lay down, and then I think about places that I worked and things that happened. And I'm laying there, and things that didn't really bother me that much at the time, or things that I took care of, you know, racism or whatever it was, things that I took care of, things that I dealt with, and things I handled. But then I lay in bed and I get fucking pissed. I lay there for an hour. Sometimes I've gotten up. Fuck it. You know? So, with buying the lottery ticket or whatever, then it helped a little bit. I lay down and I wouldn't be thinking about the director of security that I worked for. I worked there 5.5 years, and he was really smart. I mean, very smart, no doubt about that. Very competent, except he was very competent in his area. But on handling people or doing other things, it was like, what the fuck? What's wrong with this guy? But I thought, okay, I did 4 grievances against the guy. I won every time. He got his ass, you know, administration was like, if you do anything like this again, you're going to be fired. I'm talking about the director of security. But I couldn't understand, why did he brag about everything? Why did he say stuff, you know, like that he was going to do such and such? And I even, you know, in departmental meetings, I'd say, no, sir, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't do that. And he couldn't. And I just couldn't understand it. But now with what has come up with us having President Trump is our president, and then with the stories that came out from mental health workers and psychiatrists and everything else talking about what problems that he has, then I realized, okay, now of course this President Trump is stupid. And he has, the guy I was working for, he was very smart, but he made some terrible decisions. He just did things that I couldn't understand. But then when this information about Trump came out, I thought, oh my God. You know, the director of security that I worked for, he had the same condition, you know, that President Trump has. Very same condition, same everything. But, so anyway, I would lay in bed and think about if I won the lottery. Anyway, I stopped buying lottery tickets a long time ago. Oh, so anyway, online in Texas, you can now buy lottery tickets. So today I thought, okay, I'm going to do that again. Because I think it's $400 million right now, the lottery. And I thought, I wonder how that works. So how, you know, it's kind of unusual. So I logged in to buy a lottery ticket. And then it said, okay, you have to do such and such. And what you have to do is go to the store. It doesn't have to be the one, but go to the store where you buy your lottery tickets. You know, 7-Eleven or Quick Trip or whatever it is where you buy the lottery. And some of those stores make a ton of money. Like when the lottery is really big, people are lined up. You know. But when I logged into the site, it said that you have to go to the store that you buy. It doesn't have to be the one, they're not checking them, and get a piece of paper or something from them, and then you can log in, and then you enter some information from the ticket that you got from your store in there, and then you're linked. So then when you log in to the Texas, you know, lottery, if, and I mean, it didn't say this, but I mean, I'm dumb, but I have enough brain cells to figure out a little bit. So they had to do that, I'm sure, in order to get things changed and passed, because these stores, and I've seen things on like YouTube, some store that's out in some small town or out on some road or whatever, and probably the only money they really make is when the lottery is big. and when people are buying lottery tickets. And also, when a lottery win happens, let's say it's a big one, and this won't be exact, but let's say the win is big. The store that you bought your lottery ticket from, they get a big chunk of money for that store. And I think sometimes I think it would be up to the store. The store, gives the employee who sold a nice chunk of money and everything. So what this is this is to make sure that if you buy a ticket at Texas, lottery or whatever, that if you win, the store is going to, even though you didn't actually buy the ticket there, the store is going to get, their share, and whatever else the rules are, Anyway, let's see, it's almost midnight, and thank you very much for watching.